Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about Challenge Wales, which was over in Fishguard. And I wanted to go over a few different talking points with regards to the race in terms of redemption, the fact that I may or may not be able to ride a bike, and a little bit about how this may or may not have been one of the closest 70.3s I've ever taken part in, let alone seen or heard of. So just to set the scene, this is only my second 70.3 ever, the other one being Outlaw Nottingham Half, which you can see in the link above. It was just to kind of give me a little bit of confidence about my physical fitness before the Commonwealth Games. Obviously, all of my preparation at the moment and training has been geared toward the Commonwealth Games because it's such a big event. I want to do well in it. My training is all tailored towards that. So the fact that I only got on the time trial bike basically this time last week, about 4 days before the event, probably wasn't the best preparation for it. And I would do a little bit more specific training in the lead up to a 70.3 in the future. But nonetheless, I had a really good race. So point number one was a little bit of redemption from the weekend before, which was Leeds Triathlon, where obviously, like most people have seen it, I think I kind of half went viral on TikTok. Can it be called viral? I think there's almost 500,000 views on it, where I basically fluffed up the start of the race and got left on the pontoon. I was not going to let that happen this time round. So I made sure I was at the start line nice and early, ready to go. And the gun never went. Someone in the crowd just shouted, "Let's go, lads," and said it with such authority that people did. So I managed to line up next to Aaron Royal, who is an Olympian for Australia and a fantastic swimmer. I knew that if I could attach myself to his feet in some way, shape or form, I'd be in a good place coming out of the water. After jumping in and trying to attach myself to his feet, we had a little bit of a scrap for a couple of hundred meters with everyone that was around, and then after about 100, 200 meters, it all exploded. So I found myself on his feet still, like battering into the waves. Like I don't really know how we stayed attached to each other because it was just so choppy and wavy because it was basically a storm. But at the end of the first lap, because it was an Aussie exit where you have to like run around and get back in the water, I was still there. I was still with him alongside Tom Bishop, who was another first-class athlete. And we'd put a gap into the chasing group, which was about 30, 40 seconds behind at this point. I came out behind Aaron and in front of Tom, all within like maybe 10 seconds of each other, and didn't have the best transition. It wasn't the worst by any means, but came out just behind Tom as we jumped onto the bikes and up the hill. Incompatible different sounds, so we had to read between the lines. I don't think you're worth the trouble. It was not ideal because I'm a little bit weightier than Aaron and Tom, so they buggered off up the hill and I went in pursuit, which took me about probably 10-15 minutes to reconnect with them, despite them only being maybe 5-10 seconds up the road. And now I'd kind of achieved my race plan. My race plan was to make the front of the race and kind of stay there until the run and see if I had any run legs. So at this point, I'd done just that. I'd managed to make the front of the race and just tried to make it as comfortable as possible. However, the second lap of the bike came round, and despite it being a little bit sketchy, it wasn't too bad, but a little bit sketchy with the wind and rain and wet roads and no closed roads, I went to the front of the race and pushed on a little bit and managed to drop Tom Bishop, who was also in that small little group there. But when we got to the turnaround point in St David's, after I did about 20 minutes worth of effort at about 340 watts, I think it was, so nothing outrageous, like it still felt comfortable, but it was quick. We got stuck behind a camper van and again, probably didn't lose too much time. That allowed Tom to reconnect with Aaron and I, and he basically managed to stay in touch with us for the rest of the bike. The chase group, which had been about a minute, like 75 seconds behind us, had managed to close the gap. And this was a little bit frustrating because we weren't getting constant time gaps between us and them. So we were riding like solid-ish, I thought, but not hard. It was annoying because I thought we were probably maintaining the gap, but they'd ridden into us. Whereas if we'd been given time gaps, hopefully I would have thought that I would have had the initiative to push on a little bit harder and either maintain the gap or stretch the gap a little bit, because I felt as though I had a lot in the tank. But again, would have that meant that I would have ran even worse afterwards? I don't know. But yeah, towards the end of the bike leg, I went back to the front, pushed on a little bit, and managed to put a 15-second gap between me and Aaron and the rest of the group that had now caught. And that was a nice little buffer going on to the run, because I was in and out of transition before they'd managed to rack their bikes. Now ensued one of the closest running races and 70.3s that I've ever been a part of. The running race was savage, like it was up and down a hill. I think it totaled about 250 meters worth of climbing, so definitely not suited to me, who's again a little bit heavier. But I still ran half decent. Like it was still a solid run. I thought my legs were turning over really nicely. Tactically just didn't do it quite as well as I could have done. I don't know. Who did do it really well was Harry Palmer, who managed to be on someone's shoulder each and every headwind. It was an out and back, so every time I recrossed him, I saw him on the shoulder and I was like, I wish I had someone to shelter behind. That's really clever from him, but unfortunately, like, I was up front, like a couple of places ahead of him, and there weren't that many people around me. I think Tom Bishop caught up to me after 2 laps, so it was only on the 3rd and 4th lap that I was running with him. Aaron went straight past me. But yeah, and then on the final lap, both Jack Hutchinson and Harry blitzed past me, and I couldn't really do anything about it. By this point, my legs were kind of spent. I was just doing what I could to get to the finish line, hurling myself down the hills, using my weight to my advantage going down rather than the disadvantage going up. But yeah, I think it was just, I did what I could on the run, and it was good enough for 5th, which is my highest pro finish ever, probably my best result ever, and my biggest payday. Like, top 6 got paid, and it's a professional challenge family race, so yeah, got a decent little pay package. To be honest, it's my first ever pay package, so yeah, it's going to be my biggest payday, but really, really pleased with that. Now, I can't help but think what might have been if I'd pushed on the bike, but at the same time, I had a really good race. I like performed and executed my race plan to perfection of what I thought I could do. There were some little things that could have been better in terms of tactics and like execution with regards to how I rode the bike or whatever. But all in all, I was really, really pleased with my race. I thought I raced it really, really well, considering the lack of preparation and just the first one of the year, my second ever 70.3. So yeah, I was really pleased with that, to be quite honest. The race dynamic was incredible, like the way that we were out in front and then the pack core, and then the running race, which was like so static for 3 laps and then all of a sudden came together in the last lap. That was really exciting to be a part of. It was really nice to just race, to be honest, and be in the mix at the front of the race and try and hold people off and chase people down. Yeah, it was really exciting. And I managed to beat some really established names in the field. So Tom Davis and Sam Wade came in just behind me. So yeah, I was really, really chuffed with that because they're quality athletes. And kudos to the podium. I would have loved to have been part of the podium, and I was really gunning for that. I thought, like, halfway through the run that I was, like, really, really in contention to get there. I didn't realise that the guys were going to have such strong back ends to their races, but yeah, like, kudos to them. They had fantastic races. Harry, Jack, like, great podiums. And yeah, Tom and Aaron, obviously, like, an absolute privilege to race with them for the majority of the race. Now, it was one of the closest 70.3s I've ever seen. I think the top 6 were covered within 70 seconds. And second to 6th was only maybe 30 seconds, 35 seconds. So it was nuts. It was so close. I was that close to a podium, maybe 30 seconds off a podium. So yeah, really promising for the future, and it's given me a lot of confidence. I just need to go and get my head down for the next couple of weeks in preparation for Commonwealths and yeah, see what I can do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.